Welcome, adventurers. LARP season 2024 is finally here. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Rianne. I make strange nerdy content, often about LARP and video games and everything else in between. But today we're going to specifically discuss my hots and nots of the first LARP event of this year, which is, of course, Empire E1 2024. I've never done a video like this before, so this is completely new territory, but I thought it might be fun to create something like a hots and nots video that is specifically discussing things like kit hots and nots, gear hots and nots, and then right at the end discussing a little bit about Empire E1 specifically. So if you don't go to Empire and you have no want to go to Empire but you still LARP and you kind of want to hear about gear and kit that might be helpful for you, then stick around, and then at the end we're going to discuss specifics about Empire specifically. So let's start with kit. So Empire E1, I heard it could be a really mixed bag. It's in April, so the weather can be really unpredictable. And it was, and we will get into that at the end of the video. But the one piece of kit I did not have until E1 was any sort of cloak or coat that was suitable for in character. And I was able to score this amazingly lovely cloak from a vendor called Golden Mochi. I will put their details below because they make a lot of incredible kit for high fantasy medieval themed LARP. I only know that sort of side of things, but they are so incredibly talented. This is fur lined, it's wool on the outside, it has this amazing sort of ruched black patterning. I don't know if it's going to pick up a lot on camera, but it felt very sort of winter marky, Kellervacey, obviously because it's black and we're all goth mummies, but beside the point. It also has a wonderfully deep hood, which was great because I wore my hair up a lot and it was able to sort of repel a lot of the rain because it was raining. Again, we'll get to that. Also, you might just now hear a sudden quality change in the audio because I've just now started to record my microphone. Yay! Anyway, the last feature of this cloak that I wanted to highlight was this magnetic clasp. So it isn't actually a buckle clasp, it is a magnetic popper, which is really, really helpful. It saves a lot of time instead of, you know, unbuckling and buckling every time you need to go in and out. You just whip it off and you're done. So yeah, highly recommend Golden Mochi. I will put their stuff, their store down below, so if you're interested in new kit, I highly recommend them. The second piece of kit is something a bit more boring but absolutely essential in the April months of camping, which is a good set of thermals. So I had two sets of thermals, one from somewhere, I can't remember, like a Decathlon or a Mountain Warehouse, and the other was from Amazon. Spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of Amazon links down below, not affiliated. I just ended up being actually some of the best stuff. Normally I would very much encourage people to go seek out you know, local sellers rather than supporting the ye olde village of Bezos, but on this occasion it was quite affordable and they actually were quite good. So I mainly wore these thermals. I swapped them out. I had one for the day and one for the evening. This specific set of thermals I wore in the evening. I put it under kit because it can definitely be worn during the day underneath the kit too, but I found that these were extra warm, very comfy. Wore them underneath pajamas and they kept me warm all night in the really, really cold temperatures of the evening. So again, everything that I'm talking about I will link down below unless I say otherwise. So yeah, highly recommend them. Very affordable. I don't know how long they'll last, put that out there, disclaimer, but they were very helpful for the evening. Like it's not winter even. It was winter in Empire. The Empire winter evenings. Another hero of my, all of my LARP so far actually, I use a lot of black face paint, including, in fact I'm going to put a picture up here of my photographs that I actually were professionally done this year at E1. Shout out to Cryos Photography. Super highly recommend them too. Everything from my eyeshadow, my face tattoos, and my lips were all done in black face paint. which is this. You've probably all seen this. If you're from the UK, I think you've probably seen this from the ages of 2. It's just the normal Snazaroo face paint, black face paint. Now the downside to this is that it is quite drying on the lips. However, this stayed on and stays on all weekend. It's really blendable, especially my tip is to, instead of mixing this with water, mix it with a liquid primer, like a spray makeup primer, and it just lasts for so long, but then it's super easy to get off. So it's kind of like a holy grail makeup item for me to go to Empire with, even in the rain. So definitely recommend this too. Lastly, another really boring one is Under Armour socks. Specifically Under Armour socks. I bought a fresh pack for E1 and my feet never got wet. I keep alluding to the rain. We will get to it. Very, very comfortable, resistant against the elements, apparently. Not resistant against blisters altogether though, which then transitions over to my knots, which to start with were my Doc Martens. Some of you are probably sat there thinking, why on earth did you take your Doc Martens to go camping for 4 days? The answer to that is they're black and they're waterproof. Yeah, I can't recommend wearing Docs unless they're really, really broken in and worn in. Mine gave me really bad blisters. Unfortunately, my ankles are still suffering. It's been, over a month since E1 now, and I still have horrible blister scars on the back of my feet. Actually, part of my toe is still numb. So there's that. The second knot of my kit is my drinking horn. I've worn this to both of the Empire events that I've been to so far. It was really handy in the summer months because I'd literally just walk around and, go to the water taps in the camping site and just chug a load of water, keep hydrated. This time round, it got really gross, and I think that was because I kept it under my cloak, and my cloak is furry, so I would be poured like a lovely helping of something only to find that there's like black fuzz in my drink. I had 2 lots of peach schnapps that were ruined, so I think I'm probably going to ditch the drinking horn moving forward in the colder months where I'm wearing this cloak, and maybe go for a tankard. I already have wooden cups. It's just not feasible to kind of walk around with cups without handles. It's just not as easy to carry around unless it has a handle that you can attach it to your belt. That perfectly transitions over to the last knot of my kit, which is what I like to call my scam bag. Hello, I would like to introduce you all to my scam bag. I got scammed. I actually got this last year, didn't end up using it for E4 last year because I lent it to a friend and I used something else. But I used it this year for the first time and it's really bad. So I will not be linking this to you because, as I mentioned, it was a scam and the Etsy shop no longer exists. In fact, I bought this and before it even arrived, I got an email from Etsy telling me there's some really suspicious activity from the account that you've recently bought an item off of. It's deleted its account page. And I went, oh, okay then. Fully didn't expect this bag to ever arrive. I got a full refund and this bag arrived somehow. I don't really understand why. I almost wish it didn't because it's really bad. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try putting it up to the camera, but I don't know if you can kind of see whoever cut this. It definitely doesn't feel handmade. It feels like super drop shipped. Everything's wonky. The seams overlap each other, the edges are frayed because they're not hemmed whatsoever. The fabric is really thin and cheap. So yeah, I don't know if that comes up at all on the camera. But yeah, look, it works as a bag and I'll probably still use it until I find a replacement, but I don't particularly want to use this. So if anybody has any good side bag, like belt bag recommendations, please drop them below because I would like to know. Alright, now that we've gone from our kit, we're going to talk a little bit about gear. So gear is anything that's kind of like non-character specific that I don't wear but is something that I want to mention because it's to do with camping or to do with my survival. So the first thing I want to introduce you to are the Magical Pebbles of Warmth, aka these electric hand warmers, which were probably the MVP, aside from the cloak, these were the MVP of E1 this year at Empire. So these are just 2 rechargeable hand warmers, which I could easily recharge. They have 3 settings. You hold them to turn them on, and then you've got setting 1, 2, and 3, warm, hot, and hotter. They're really nice to hold. They're like really easy hand size. They lasted for ages. They did not, I had it fully charged at the beginning of Saturday, and they were on for a lot of Saturday, and only one of them ran out of battery by, you know, what time did we go to bed? Like 1 a.m. on the Sunday morning. So these lasted a really long time. But a nice little feature is that they're also magnetized. So you can kind of double whammy them and hold on to them. Or if you do have anything magnetized, of course you can stick that to it, but I don't really know if that's helpful at all, but this is quite helpful. Yeah, these are really good. Would definitely recommend a set of these. Just to wrap up the tech side of things, I got this power bank. I will link it below. I've been living off of a different power bank that I got given to me as a gift, and it's really bad in comparison to this. So if you're looking for a non-expensive, or inexpensive rather, power bank, I really do recommend this. This lasted the entire trip. It charged my phone, it charged the hand warmers, I don't know what else I charged. It charged everything that I brought with me that needed to be charged, and then some. And it barely hit, I think it maybe hit like 65% over 4 days, or for 3 nights, Thursday to Sunday. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's inexpensive, powerful, it has 3 USBs. So you can have up to 3 USB charging, and it also has, I think it's a micro SD, just to plug in as well. Oh, there you go, 70%. The next hot for gear is my sleeping bag. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I will write it here, right now, on the screen. You can see exactly what it's called, and the link will be below. I ordered this on a whim. I think I ordered this in the January sales after the new year, and it was so good. Again, the combination of that, a pair of pajamas, and those thermals, I was completely warm, was not cold whatsoever through the evening. So if you're looking for a decent sleeping bag that again isn't going to break the bank, or at least it was on sale, and I don't recall it being super expensive because I don't usually buy things that are super duper expensive. Like, I'm a bargain hunter. I like, if I can, I'll get it on a sale. Yeah, it was great. It did the job. If you're looking for a warm, toasty sleeping bag for the colder months and for when it's rainy, like it still is right now, we're almost in June, then I do recommend that too. Speaking of sleeping, I tried something a little bit different this time for my sleeping arrangement, and that was this foot pump bedroll. So instead of it being like a full-on air mattress, because that was really cold in the summer last time, and that was in like the hot summer months, so all that cold air is trapped in the bed, and it does not help when it's freezing outside. It makes you colder. I purchased this bedroll that is inflatable, only like a little bit, but just enough so it doesn't feel like you're just sleeping on the hard floor. And I was really impressed actually. It folds down really small, so if you're like me, conscious about the amount of stuff that you pack, the weight of it, and the size of things, just to try and minimize as much as possible, definitely recommend that. It rolls down into a really, really small size. The only caveat I would say is that it is slippy, so if you're on any sort of incline when you're asleep, and you've got the bedroll and the sleeping bag, and you've got nothing sort of to provide friction in between, like a cover or a duvet or a blanket, you will just kind of slip and slide a little bit in the evening. And lastly, for gear, I want to recommend my picnic blanket. Not mine specifically, but if you don't already, I think a picnic blanket, having that in your arsenal of gear to bring, is really, really helpful in the colder months, especially the ones that have the foil on the bottom. So we laid it in our sleeping quarters of the tent, and having that plus the bedroll plus a like a sleeping bag each really helped keep the warmth in, help insulate everything, and it helped keep things dry. I only have one knot for gear, and that was unfortunately our tent. So when we started LARP last year, I said, you know what, a load of my friends want to come, I'm gonna bite the bullet and buy a bigger tent, just to make sure that there's enough room for everyone, and then a little bit more, because then we can get changed and we can sit in there and we can eat and we can relax. And so I bought a 6-man tent, and to this day there's only ever been me and one other person use that 6-man tent per event. Like, there's only ever been 2 of us in that tent at any given time. In E4 it was a really good tent in the summer months, had no problems, no complaints. However, E1 this year, the weather really took a turn for the worst, and I will take the hit on the pitching of the tent. I unfortunately pitched it at an angle, and it was an angle where the rain did get in through the doors. That being said, I'm not really sure if I can recommend this tent in rainy / colder climates, because there were so many instances of this tent bringing in rain from the outside, and I can't explain how. I'm not a tent person. Maybe there's somebody in the comments who knows why it happened, but we had really bad condensation on the inside, so the rain on the outside ended up leaking through the inside, plus the condensation, plus you can't zip up the front, it's only toggled on the front, so when the wind blew in, any rain or any mud could actually get into the front of the tent, and then it rolled unfortunately down to the back of the tent, even through the zipped up sleeping portion of the tent, where we had a flood in the corner on the Sunday morning, which we'll get to that. This is the part of the video where, if you've listened this far, thank you, but we're going to talk about Empire specific hots and nots now. So if you only clicked on this video just to kind of hear a bit about kit and gear, then you're free to go, but if you'd like to hear a bit more about Empire E1 2024, then stick around. Alright, so the first hot I want to mention about E1 this year was the Astronomancy game. Celine, my character, is an Astronomancer, and at E4 last year I didn't really see too much Astronomancy stuff. Maybe it's because I was new and I wasn't exposed to it as much, I was still finding my bearings, but this time around there was so many different Astronomancers that I met. There was some events happening around Astronomancy. I won't go into detail what they are here, just in case people don't want to be spoiled about ongoing events and lore, but there are definitely certain things that you can find on the Winds of Fortune from the last event. I would assume that there will be more Winds of Fortune about it this event, because things happened which were very interesting. Big shout out to any Astronomancers that Celine spoke to over the event. There were a few of you, and it made my gameplay so much more enjoyable, and it was wonderful to exchange prophecies and information, and I got to use some of my night lore to see things and share that information with people, so I really found that enjoyable, because I did worry for a little bit that maybe being an Astronomancer was very Urizeni heavy, and I think it is, but it's nice to feel like I could come in as a winter marker and still feel like that kind of gameplay was inclusive of me coming in solo and not being a Rizeni and not having a lot of experience in Astronomancy yet, because it's my second event. So yeah, that was really cool, really enjoyed that. The second hot was on the Saturday night. I got to witness a very special night ritual. Again, I will try and keep this kind of private because I don't know if people want this to be shared publicly, but all I will say is that a coven was very lovely to me, or to Celine, during the event, and they invited me to come watch one of their rituals, which is a rare ritual to happen apparently, and I got to witness some gameplay that was really cool, and by the end of it turned very chaotic and funny, and I heard all about the stories the day after about what certain people were up to after this ritual, but also before the ritual there was some devastating news, and I have never been a part of such an intense roleplay scenario before. I think the people who were a part of that on Saturday evening, when some bad news happened and came to a Wintermark tent to deliver that news, I think you probably know what it is. It was, honestly, I feel really honoured to watch seasoned veterans of role-playing and LARP and Empire go through the motions of that news breaking, and how all the characters responded and interacted. It felt very much like I was on the set of a movie. It was just impeccable to watch everybody be and feel. So I feel very, very lucky to have seen that, despite the circumstances and the topic of the actual scenario. Just know that I'm really honoured that I was able to witness that, and everybody a part of that just did such a phenomenal job of keeping in character and showing such raw emotion. There was like a beauty to the sadness. So yeah, I thank you for letting me stay and witness that and be a part of that moment. The last hot before we go into my one not of this year is being able to take my friend Rebecca. My friend Rebecca has wanted to do LARP for so long, and I messed up last year, and I thought I told her about last year's event, and it turned out I didn't. So this year we made sure that both of us went, and I'm so glad I got to spend the event with her because we had such a good time. She joined Navarre. I'm lucky enough to also have some friends in Navarre too, so it was a nice little moment where I get to go in between sort of friendship groups and then doing my own thing and then hearing about everything that she's done, and it was just a wonderful experience to come in and show a friend everything that I'd experienced, and for her to come out of it also super pumped and really excited. So I hope to introduce more friends. Fingers crossed, I've got a few who said that are coming this year, so there might be a little group, a little army, like a strange girls weekend happening a couple of times this year. And so we come to the end of the video, and the final thing that I want to talk about is the not of Empire. The only not, which of course was the rain, and the more rain. If you're already tapped into Empire, if you went to E1, if you're already listening to sort of the Empire gossip train, then you've probably already heard about this, but I cannot stress how horrible the weather was. Genuinely, I've heard people talk about the mudpocalypse of Empire years ago, and some people describe this as being worse than the mudpocalypse, so it sounds like this was bad. We got hit with really, really bad conditions. So if you've not been to Empire before, not been to LARP before, basically it's a massive campsite, and before the event I think precautions were taken to try and prevent any flooding, reduce the amount of rainwater and the mud on the campsite. So they put down a load of wood chips. First of all, the wood chips were very difficult to walk on. I unfortunately have a chronic injury in my leg, which means that any uneven surface, I'm at a higher risk of dislocating my knee, which I partially did unfortunately on the Saturday night, but it's fine, I'm okay. So that wasn't really accessible for me, that was not fun. But then there were also huge sinkholes on the Sunday morning where the wood chips actually were floating. There was that much water, the wood chips were floating on the main path, and people would just like stick their foot right in and basically fall into this puddle. On top of the egregious levels of mud, which made it impossible for vehicles to leave the campsite. There had to be a ban on vehicles entering and leaving the campsite for a while until the mud eventually dried out and it was safe to do so. There was a Tesla stuck somewhere. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm sorry if you're watching, but I don't understand why someone would bring a Tesla to a campsite, but it happened. Apology if that's you, no judgment, kind of a little bit judgment. I don't know why you'd bring it to a campsite. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, and it did. I heard that it broke down, and I'm really sorry about that. But also I'm confused. In the end, I missed all of Sunday. I didn't get to do any gameplay on Sunday because our tent flooded. This cloak was completely soaked through because, as I mentioned, the tent also leaked through the window, so I couldn't actually wear this because it was so sodden it could not dry out, and there was no way I could go around for the full day without some sort of insulation or covering or to keep me warm and dry. I just knew I'd be making myself sick, so we prioritised ourselves, and unfortunately we made the decision to leave around lunchtime. We called for a cab and left without playing on the Sunday game, but sounds like we kind of dodged a little bit of a bullet, because I heard that people were stuck there for an extra night. Some people, it took them hours to get out or to get home. So yeah, really unfortunate that the weather could spoil such a good event up until that point. I have heard that people still did enjoy the Sunday, which is really good to hear, but fingers crossed that come June we will not have this problem, or at least if we do have rain it won't be as bad and that we can all be nice and dry. So that is it for my LARP / Empire E1 Hots and Knots 2024. If you've liked this video, please give it a like. If you dislike it, then give it a dislike. You have free will. If you do have any recommendations on gear, kit, or anything that you think is interesting to look into for Empire E2 in a couple of weeks, then drop them down in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching, and if I don't see you on the field at Empire, I might see you in my next video. Thanks guys, we'll speak to you soon, bye!